Hello everyone and welcome to LAYER123 World Congress. I am Ahmed Al-Sawaf. I'm working for SCC as a network transformation and the cloud infrastructure senior advisor. I will discuss during my session today 5G architecture, Open RAN and vRAN. During my session, I will touch points across multiple subjects. Like what is the driver of Open RAN? Everyone, what is the new ecosystem that Open RAN is created, and what is the matter for network operator to build next generation network? And my key takeaways in terms of 5G is better with Open RAN. So before jumping to my technical deep dive, I will try to figure out what is the main key driver from operator side to adopt Open RAN. So if we see right now, these three key drivers that operator trying to adapt the Open RAN: cost, vendor competition, and flexibility. And if we see any open platform, open network, we will see the same three main pillars that almost all operator or CSP try to adopt the openness or open platform for sure, to lower their cost, to have more vendor competition, and to have flexibility in terms of building their network building block. Okay. Let's see how the evolution or the evolution from traditional RAN till the Open RAN, and let's see and agree on the terminologies used in Open RAN context to make sure that we are on the same page. So starting from traditional RAN, which is almost 30 years back, we have antenna, we have RRU or radio head, and we have BBU as connected to our BSC or RNC radio, the core part through backhaul interface. After that, there is a concept called centralized RAN or CRAN, and CRAN can be used in centralized RAN or cloud RAN. The CRAN approach or centralized approach cover mainly the centralization of baseband unit to have more centralized approach, and to connect multiple antennas to have this dense capacity, and that can help to introduce more cell site to be connected to the core network. It is not virtualized, it is just, as I mentioned, a centralized approach of BBU, with using a separate interface to connect their interface. And we know that separate interface is a very expensive interface that connect right now BBU to the RU as a front haul interface. The evolution and starting from 2012 in terms of NFV and the cloudification of all network function to be VNF based or CNF based. One of this workload or network function for sure is the BBU. So when we hear about virtualized RAN or cloud RAN, it brings to our mind immediately the cloudification and virtualization of BBU. So right now, the cloud RAN or virtualized RAN, it is decoupling of the hardware and software layer. We can bring any COTS, commodity of the shelf server, and start to onboard the software, which is in our case the VBU as a workload over this COTS, utilizing the NFV concept or cloudification concept. Down the road, we start to have it's open more and more, and start to hear about the Open RAN, Open -RAN, and Open Space RAN. So I will try to figure out what is the difference between Open RAN, O-RAN, and Open Space RAN. Let's see. First of all, when we talk about Open Space RAN, which is a generic terminology, here it will cover the vRAN, which is virtualization, and the Open RAN or Open-RAN, which means that open interfaces. So when we hear Open RAN, it's covering the virtualization aspects and covering the open interfaces. We have two main alliances or groups right now in the industry. We have TEP, which they invent the Open RAN, and we have ORAN Alliance, which is invented by two merging of two big alliances, and we will cover it in my next slide. So the key message here that we have virtualized RAN or cloud LAN, which is looking for the vertical stack and how can we virtualize our workload, which is vBPU, and Open RAN, which is invented to have open interfaces between RRU and VDU, and from VDU to VCU, and start to create some specification for these interfaces with 3GPP. So right now, as I mentioned, let's see how the Open RAN create new ecosystem landscape, and let's see what is the difference between TEP Open RAN and O-RAN alliances and so on and so forth. So right now here we have a TEP, as I mentioned. TEP is Telecom Infra project. It is formulated back 2017. It's is one of the operator-led initiative. The focus of Open RAN, the focus of TEP project is covering a lot of aspects. One of these project and domains, they are looking for Open RAN and Open 5G new radio, which they combined last week to have Open RAN as a complete project. They are trying to cover the specification in terms of hardware of RU and specification of DU and CU, and for sure they are working with many alliances and open source communities and SDOs to complete the picture, and we will cover it. We have ORAN or O-RAN alliance, which is result of combination and merging of CRAN and XRAN, which both of them is created 2016 by operator-led as well. And the target of these two alliances to start to have some specification of open interfaces. And ORAN alliance right now working or create 9 working group, and each working group focus on certain area on the stack. We have small cell alliance and forum, which is looking for small cell and try to define something called 5G FAPI interfaces, as well as late 2020 we have ONF, which is try to jump in ORAN or Open RAN area, and then try to introduce some SDN controller which based on open network operating system ONUS controller, and try to position it as a REC controller, radio intelligent controller in context of Open RAN. For sure, we have oversight communities like ONAP, which is heavily integrated right now with DREC from ORAN Alliance. We have CNTT, we have GSMA, and we have a lot of oversight communities working with all these ORAN, Open RAN SDOs to bring more value to the community. I select one of this initiative, as I mentioned, which is O-RAN architecture. Before, as I mentioned, 30 years back, we have a black box. We have starting flow from phi low RF till the complete stack is black box, which I'm covering here is my slide as a black box. We don't know what is happened inside this black box in terms of proprietary interfaces and in terms of proprietary protocol use between the complete stack from vendor side. But right now we open this black box and we have this architecture, complete architecture, and we start to define these interfaces as open standard interfaces. Not only focus on open standard interfaces, ORAN Alliance architecture focus on how can they have embedded SON on their architecture using AI and ML, and try to expose all this architecture to a northbound system like ONAP or automation and orchestration framework to have completely onboarding the complete stack as an edge or far edge site. Second, we have TIP, as I mentioned, Telecom Infra Projects, which invent the Open RAN. And I bring this slide to show how Open RAN right now try to have some industry collaboration between Open RAN, 3GPP, ORAN Alliance, CNTT, and try to commercialize the Open RAN from their side. Okay, we have a question right now. What really matters to operator? What is the most important requirements that any operator looking for to have next generation network and to realize their investment? So if we see, we have from down to up, we have service flexibility, we have scalability, which is scaling up and down. We need to have or help of end-to-end network orchestration. The key point here is that I'm bringing based on my insights, the open world, which means that we need to have open platform, open hardware, open APIs, open interfaces, and open mind and culture, and open supply chain to be able to adapt more new players in our ecosystem. So one of my takeaways, that my advice to the operators, that please go open as much as you can and disaggregate whatever you can. So open and disaggregate to the max. Here I'm bring some verticals that we need to focus how we can open it and how can we disaggregate it. In terms of the open space RAN, which I covered before, that is looking for open interfaces, and it is considered as horizontal disaggregate and horizontal openness. So right now we have RU, we have DU, and we have CU, and we have well-defined open standard interface between them. And from vertical openness and the vertical disaggregate, we have heterogeneous infrastructure or heterogeneous hardware, and we need to have infrastructure as a service. After that, we can onboard our VCU and VDU, and we have domain orchestrator that can be integrated with radio intelligent controller, and we have open architecture, which thanks for the communities that bring a lot of split option, which make it more open and more disaggregate. And we have complete ecosystem which bring a lot of new players in RAN domain. So my advice here, open and disaggregate to the max, and you can get the benefits. So one of my takeaways as well, which is I like the subject, which is 5G is better with Open RAN and as the edge, from technical and from architecture point of view. If we see right now the next generation network, or what each operator shall embrace to have the next generation network, I bring this complete architecture from regional data center to the far edge, which is covering a lot of layers. To make it simple, if we start from the heterogeneous infrastructure, you can build complete infrastructure using any chipset like x86 or ARM, and you can start to have this infrastructure as a service or CAS as a service across your network, starting from the core to the edge. And you can use bare metal deployment for your workload, and you can start to have some offloading mechanism like FPGAs or SmartNICs, GPUs and RF SOC, which use for radio part, and you can start to have zero touch or 0x, which means that zero touch, zero configuration, zero provisioning, which I'm calling fully autonomous network. Complete autonomous network utilizing AI/ML as a complete framework, starting from the core to the edge with a closed loop, using telemetry, using open APIs across your network to start to monetize your infrastructure. Last but not least, how can this 5G, if we bring it with Open RAN and edge, can bring more economic value to the operator side? So I put some pillars, and let's cover it as a quick. So right now, imagine with me that you have a few number of SQs in your network, in the core and the edge, and you have these SQs serial numbers or CQs, sorry, to build the complete white box network using white box like or general purpose platforms, and which covers your core, which is cloud infrastructure, covering the DU, covering the CU, covering the RU, and for sure it will make impressive impact on your TCO in terms of lowering your OPEX and CAPEX. Instead of having a lot of proprietary boxes and proprietary hardware from vendor, you can select few boxes and you can spread across your network. For sure, as I mentioned, you can stitch and you can have single infrastructure as a service or container as a service from the core to the edge, which for sure is lowering your CAPEX and OPEX. You will start to open your APIs from your network, especially as the edge, to start to have new use cases and start to monetize your infrastructure. You will try and start to activate the end-to-end slicing and activate network as a service, which is a NAS, to be able to offer complete end-to-end service on your core and RAN, starting from RAN part to the core. As well as I mentioned, you need to build complete autonomous network, self-drive network, which dramatically change your CAPEX and OPEX and your TCO, and for sure it will monetize more your infrastructure to be able to increase your ROI and increase your economics value in the market. One of the beloved approaches and the pillar, which is the edge-driven approach, my recommendation to start to build your edge and start to bring the V or Open RAN as an edge, as a first use cases, and try to spread your distributed data center across your nation and your country, and to have economic of scale of this edge and start to bring more use cases with the Open RAN. New vendor landscape, for sure, it will make your competition and your CAPEX as low as much as they can, due to the fact. Sorry, I think there is a mistake here. This R should be down, which lowering your CAPEX and bring more competition to your vendor landscape. Yet one of the most challenge here in openness, the system integration part. But right now we see a lot of companies jump in system integrated part, try to connect all these bundle together. I'm done. Thanks for attending the session and waiting for you Q&A. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I think we have a couple of questions here. We have one of the questions. In the past, operator like the convention of getting all network from one or two suppliers. Okay, the question here, how does Open RAN change that preference, and will operators have many? Okay, it's a great question here. For sure, the operator preference before. So I think there is echo. So right now, to answer this question, for sure, the new landscape or new ecosystem that Open RAN create is huge. and the operator right now try to select and build best of breed network or mix and match network, starting from RU side till the core, and this openness will bring a lot of new players in the telco ecosystem. For sure, as I mentioned in my slide, it will be a budget here, which is system integration budget, but by the time it will be overcome quickly. Second question here, what are your view on some companies' fears that open a network risk potential attack surface of the network? I like this question. There is a misconception between open and security. So right now, does not mean that we have open networks that we will overcome or maneuver the security aspects that we build. It is totally opposite. We have open initiative right now covering a lot of security aspects, as well as it will take your choice to select your standard APIs, and you can have API firewall, and you can put any security systems that can protect this openness. Will Open RAN allow a faster rollout of 5G compared to plan with traditional closed RAN? It is very tricky question from Robert. From my point of view, is yes. The only challenge that I mentioned, the maturity of the ecosystem, and this maturity, by time it will become more mature to have this vendor landscape, and after that it will help big time to have the 5G rollout. And the point is not about the 5G, it is about the economic value of Open RAN with 5G, with cloud native, with edge architecture. It will be dramatically change the operator economic value and ROI. Will Open RAN introduce more complexity and tuning and optimization to be more complex than it is traditional? Yes and no. Maybe when we have this Open RAN, which as I mentioned during the session, it's virtual RAN and Open RAN, which open interfaces. Maybe again, it is in terms of system integration between different products. So for instance, if you have two products from two vendors, for sure it's take time to have this integration part, but by time it will be like our core component, which is right now it is completely integrated, and there is no interoperability issue between the components. Thank you.